Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Accountant, your weekly live show every Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. Hope everybody is well on the final countdown to tax return deadlines. Aaron's only got 5 left to do.
No, 5 days.
5 days, sorry. 5 days. Yes, 5 days. So, as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Aaron Patrick. Aaron, how are you, and how's your week been?
We survived. I'm sure everyone's in the same boat. Well, most of us are in the same boat. Yeah, it's been an interesting week, put it that way. Of a lot of craziness going on. Went to London as well. That was always. Is it nice going to London? I've just corrected myself there. Maybe it's not nice going to London. Actually, thinking about it, but I went anyway. Did you went to London as well? Didn't you this week? Was you?
Yeah, road trip down there and back again.
Yeah. Did you get caught in the storm, or was it the time before? Or
no, I was back days before that.
Okay, good. Because obviously you've had the storm your end. How was that? Like that was it looked intense based on media reports.
It was, to be fair. I mean, one fence had come down before the storm actually kicked in. It was very surreal. So red weather warning. Which did you know if you've got a red weather warning in place and you drive your car during that red weather warning, you're not insured?
Really?
Yep. Void your insurance because you've been told to stay at home. So yeah, red weather warning in place for the whole day. Like I kept checking, looking out the window, seeing whose fences were and weren't still there and stuff. It was, but like the roads were empty, the streets were empty. Like it was very lockdown-esque.
Really?
Very interesting. But yeah, no, we were fine here. I lost a fence, which, to be fair, 12 months ago, I said to my wife, like, that fence is going to need replacing in the next year or two because it's rather thin and wobbly and useless. So the weather's just forced us to have to get that replaced now. But other than that, we did all right. So yeah, no, not too bad. Just worked from the sofa for the day. You know, red weather warning, I had to stay in the house. I couldn't go from the house to the office garden. So, you know, you take these things seriously. But yeah,
your office hasn't been relocated then?
No, we're still in exactly the same place, very firmly bolted into the ground here, literally bolted into the ground. So yeah, no, all good here. How was the storm for you? Did you really have a storm, or was it just a bit wet?
Just a bit wet, bikini weather, I like to call it. Yeah, so that's all we had.
For you folks on a Monday morning, Aaron in his bikini.
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad at all. I mean, they were just threatening to cancel trains and all that sort of stuff. So that's as dramatic as it got for me, really. So hopefully everyone was safe and secure. I know we've had a few. I've had a few cancellations this morning for PNC meetings and stuff because people lost power and stuff like that. I still not got power back. So let's hope everyone's okay out there. But it's me personally, it was no drama.
Brilliant. And where are you up to with your tax returns, Aaron?
Less than 20 to go. So we'll be absolutely fine. It is just a case of a handful of those won't go in anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, what can you do? You can lead a horse to water and all that sort of stuff. But most of them are there. We've got quite a few still PNCs this week. So potentially it's going to be a few late nights sorting them out.
Yeah.
But apart from that, be all right. What about yourself?
14 left to do. So very happy with that, but more happy with the fact that I took this weekend off.
Really?
First weekend.
How was it? Tell us what a weekend's like. This is interesting. Go for it.
It was very much like my Friday, if I'm honest. Sat on the sofa, not doing a lot. So I was working for Engager because we'd offered support throughout the weekend and in the evenings in the build-up to tax returns. But yeah, it's the first weekend before a tax return deadline that I've not worked in 7 years. So very happy that the systems and processes are getting there. It's a constant evolution, isn't it? It's constantly, we've done some bits really well this year. Let's tweak that now and improve it further. So yeah, very happy with that result.
Very jealous.
Everyone in the comments, how are you getting on with your tax returns? Let's have a look at who's here today. As per usual, we love our community. So Kirsty was first, only because she was 6 minutes early. to sign in. So good morning to Kirsty. Good morning to Cheryl. Sam says, this podcast forces me to wake up early and be productive. Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome. I think it's a much better solution than having to go to the gym. Good morning to Paul. Good morning to Natasha. Good morning to Dave, all the way from India. Hope you're having a good trip. Morning from an extremely rainy Guernsey. From Tim Chelston.
So you've not said his name
right. Good morning to Clive, the QuickBooks accountant. Good morning to Susanna. Carl Beeson is here. Good morning. And Tim says he's got 4 left to do, and one of those is half done. Smashing it.
Well done.
Fantastic.
And we've got Rachel as well.
Good morning to Rachel, who says the gym is a dangerous place. I completely agree. If health and fitness was good for you, then why do they need ambulances at a marathon? That's my argument. You find me a sporting event that doesn't require an ambulance, fine. That's health and fitness.
That's one you'll partake in. We've also got Instagram people as well. Hello, Instagram people. On my end, I've got Susan Jack. Morning all from Hanley in the middle of a current hailstorm. Oof, that sounds interesting. Hopefully you're safe though. Hopefully you're safe. But yeah, unfortunately we can't, as we've always said, we can't click on those Instagram people, but we are watching, we are seeing you. And did you remember to press live, Johann?
I did. I'm live. Hey! There's people watching. There's no comments on there yet, but there's a few people watching.
Hello, Johann's Instagram.
Yes.
Finally, you're there. Hello.
Right. Let's get into it. We've got some juicy news this week, folks.
To the point where we even said to ourselves, should we even be covering this?
So this has been a bit of a dilemma. Basically, this week's news is about tech going wrong and causing us a major data concern for GDPR reasons, etc. Because there's been a few incidents in the last week or two. And we're like, wow, we don't want people getting scared off from technology because of these anomalies. Because that's what if you think about all the things that have been going on for the last year, all the data pushing and pulling, these are ultimately blips. But they've happened and people need to know about them, and we need to be aware that there is a genuine risk in using any technology. And this is why you should be challenging your providers to make sure that you're confident in their security and safety procedures. So what's been happening? So there's been 2 softwares that have had 2 data security incidences.
Yep.
One of them's actually had 2 in the last month. The others had 1. So do we start with S or T?
Let's go with T first.
Cool. So over the weekend, it became apparent that Taxstone, which is a practice management tool primarily in America, but they've been working in the UK for a while, trying to, they're at events and stuff, trying to break into the UK. They have had a second data breach in the space of a month, where people could run a report in their firm's practice management tool, and it pulls in client data from other firms. Bit of a headache, that one. So that's happened. That happened Saturday. It happened over the weekend, is my understanding. And they're still doing it. They've been very open and transparent, saying, yes, we've had this problem. There'll be a full report made public. But yeah, I mean, I had a similar issue with QuickBooks before Christmas, but it wasn't on this scale. So I had an issue where I was going into QuickBooks to download invoices for a client who needed them for the charity regulator. So I'd go in, I'd select the customers to bulk downloading those invoices, and it then pulled invoices from my own firm instead. And very odd. But it was no bigger than that. It was ring fenced to within my client me being able to pull my own firm's bills through my client's thing. It was very odd, but they got it fixed and sorted. In the end, it took them a while to work out what was going on, but at least that was kind of ring fenced, and only I was impacted. But when I'm running,
it wasn't just you. There was a few people that had that issue.
But the data wasn't pulling out from some other random.
It wasn't one of your other
accounting
clients.
firm.
Yeah.
No. So, but yeah, for me to be able to run a report in my practice management tool and to see other firms' clients and their sensitive data is a huge no-no. Even in the US, where they don't have GDPR, but they have other data protection policies. So yeah,
I am interested to know what type of reports there, because that is one thing in the UK side of things. We don't have many reports being ran in our practice management solutions, right? Other than timekeeping.
My understanding is you have what called tags to help you filter in TaxDome. If you ran a report asking if you were trying to filter information for certain tags, it would pull in client data who's got the same tags in a different firm. So yeah, not good in a word.
No.
And for that to
shouldn't all be on the same. There shouldn't be any connection to that, right? That fundamentally says that there's something very strange going on, doesn't it?
But this is the same principle as a lot of practice management softwares are built on. Is like, and it's been standard in the UK for a while. Like, so you know where you go onto a website and you just enter your email address and your your password, and it's someone's main website. So, you know, go into any website, any practice management tools website, and there's a login button at the top, and you don't put anything in other than your email address and password. That's because it's all stored on the same thing. So there is a risk of crossover. Whereas practice management's where they've got like domains involved. So the Bofix practice management at Engager and the OnPoint accounting at Engager, they're two different domains.
Yeah.
They're completely separate and independent. So if you got hacked, nobody else is hacked in Engager. Whereas in the software solution like TaxDome, the way they've built it, if one gets hacked, if TaxDome gets hacked, technically everyone's hacked. Whereas if one Engager account gets hacked, no one else is hacked. And we've gone another level further, and we've actually split out the firms where we store firm data and where we store client data. So if one of your clients gets hacked, the firm's not hacked. So yeah, it is the risk of the way these companies build it. Like the way we build Engager is quite intensive with the infrastructure, because we have to have separate instances for everything, and when we roll out an update, it doesn't just happen to everyone instantly. We have to roll it out over all those instances. So that's why we do it at night.
Yeah.
So pros and cons, but the pro is we are a lot more secure because of the way we've built it than perhaps others are. And that is a downside of, as demonstrated this weekend at TaxDome, of now what we don't know, because there's so few users from my understanding in the UK, is did this impact any UK firms? We know it definitely impacted firms in the US. We've seen those reports on LinkedIn, etc. What we don't know is, did it impact the UK side of things? I don't know.
You'd assume it would, right? Because of the little use that I've had with TaxDome, it does feel like it is very much the US product just brought over here, right? It doesn't feel like it was built from the ground up for the UK with, XYZ change and all this, that, and the other. It is very much that they, have a working solution over there, and they're just trying to implement it over here. So it makes sense, right? Like from a development point of view, why start from scratch? So I would imagine that whatever vulnerability was over in the US would also be here, right? And it's just a case that, I can't see why it wouldn't. So yeah, interesting. And like you said, second one in a month as well. So
yeah, clearly... I'm struggling to find information about the first issue, but TaxDome users in the US on LinkedIn were very clear that this is the second time in a month you've had data security issues. Do you want to explain to us what's going on, please? So yeah, I mean, technically, if anyone's been affected by this in the UK, that's technically a report to the ICO they need to make.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting.
It's a serious thing. Cool. Okay, so that's the first data issue. If there's any Taxstone users in the comments, let us know. Were you impacted by this? Are you worried by this? I mean, even if you're not a Taxstone user and you think this reason puts me off technology, let us know. Cool. Okay, second one was Sage Copilot. Sage has had a bit of a boo-boo in the fact that their Copilot was, when requested to do an action within Copilot, it was surfacing other clients' information in that report, which again, very similar from what I can see to the issue I had with QuickBooks back before Christmas. But it was that major they had to take Copilot offline for a short period of time to fix it and then turn it back on again. Aaron, have you read much more into this one?
I've just seen the articles that come up on Canton Web, and there was one user on LinkedIn talking about it as well. Yeah, I think this was the one where we didn't know if we should talk about it, just because, one thing we don't want to do is scare people off using AI or anything like that. Yeah. But it is right to just show the kind of dangers of it, isn't it? And I think, okay, from a Sage point of view, they've done the right thing. They've closed this down and they've taken it offline. They'll fix it. It'll come back. I'm every confidence it'll come back without this vulnerability going forward. Yeah. So, it's lesson learned sort of thing.
It's not something that's been going on for months and months and months that we know of. It sounds like they've done an update, which has caused this slight vulnerability. They've spotted it and fixed it.
Yeah, but it definitely highlights two major things for me. First of all, we've got to be careful about what we're putting into any large language model, right? Like we both say how we've been trying Microsoft Copilot and we've tried OpenAI and Gemini and all this, that, and the other. And yeah, there's a curiosity for us, isn't there, of which one's doing what and everything else. But we've got to be really mindful of what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? Like there's got to be a element there of responsibility and everything else. We've got to keep that one in mind. But I think the other one is that we can't rush these things. Like I know there's definitely a appetite out there that we have all these new toys and we have them now, right? Like let's because we can see the benefit of them, right?
And we're the worst for it.
Yeah, 100%. But this is definitely okay, let's take a step back and let's say, look, let's have access to this when they're ready. Like we can't undebate this. Two reasons. One, if we just release a half-baked good, no one's going to use it, right? It'll get no traction. It won't get the investment it needs, and ultimately us as the user will lose out because we won't get what could happen, what the potential of these solutions could be. And the other one, if we do rush them out, things like this can happen. Like this is what could happen, isn't it? If we don't absolutely, figure this out and go small. Because tell me if I'm wrong, but is Sage Copilot, is it readily available or is it still in beta?
I think it's readily available now to all accountants and bookkeepers. I could be wrong there. But I do believe it's come out of beta now and it's generally there for the general public. I think. I mean, if not, then it's a very open beta from my understanding. Like, I don't think you have to go on a waiting list or anything for very long anymore.
Well, I never got my reply back when I put myself on a waiting list, but maybe it's because it just went.
They saw who you were. It's like, no.
He ain't getting on there. But yeah, maybe it's around, maybe it's not. But there's definitely something to have a look. And if you know in the chat if it's readily available, it'll be good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lesson, isn't it? This, and hopefully this sort of isolated instance like this will be few and far between going forward.
And hopefully it doesn't put people off from using it, because the only way they're going to learn to fix these things and find these things is by users using it.
Yeah.
And all the naysayers and doom mongers are, AI is going to take all of our jobs. Oh, we can't even keep the client data secure. Like they're going to be having the time of their lives right now.
Yeah.
And it just needed another level of ring fencing. It's dealt with, but we need to be aware of security data. So it's good that everyone has been like it has been quite open about this challenge, this issue, because they could have tried to hide it and distract from it. But at the same time, things like this do put a point on the other side who are trying to say no, AI is wrong and we shouldn't be using AI, blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, as I say, this is a blip in a huge, like, if you think the amount of data and requests going through Sage Copilot for the last 9 months, nearly a year now, this is the first major thing we've heard of. And they seem to have turned it off, fixed it, and turned it back on very quickly. So, yeah. But, AI or not, technically I had the same issue with QuickBooks in last autumn, and so did other firms, where they were telling it to give them one set of information, not using AI. They were just saying, download this invoice, and you open it, and the PDFs of an invoice from your own accounting firm, like download this bill for Booker, and I was getting my leading auto entry invoice given to me from my own firm. And it's like, well, so AI or not, that problem, it proves the problem can still be a problem. It's just the AI's gone in and fetched that invoice for you, and people are cynical of it all of a sudden because AI did that, AI made that mistake. Yeah, but was it AI, or was it AI just doing what I would have done? Is I'd have pressed download, and I was given the wrong data.
I think from the cynical, and we don't want to give them fuel to add to their fire, but from the cynical point of view, it's, well, the AI could do far more with that, right? Like, yes, you being able to download or not be able to get the right data is frustrating and could be really problematic because I know that some people weren't checking that data, pressing download and sending it off, and it was like, why have you sent me this? This means, this isn't what I asked for. So that sort of scenario, right, could be, and that could be catastrophic. They could have given away really sensitive information there, right? You could have access to payrolls or whatever. Like that vulnerability could have been used for something that was really sinister, right? And that's the problem of any vulnerability. But I think the naysayers out there would say that the chances of you, manually looking for it or getting into the wrong hands that they can do it, and is it could be minimized, and it could be something that can be easily defended against, right? And there's a way to change a password or whatever it's going to be to kind of, from our point of view, what can we do to fix it? Be more vigilant when you send stuff out. There's controls we could put in place to safeguard against those sort of issues. I think the naysayers out there, worriers, or that what they'll be shouting about is that, what are our safeguards against this sort of thing? Like, if this happens going forward or happens again, what do we do to protect ourselves against that? And I don't think we have an answer, because I don't think there is an answer, right?
Like, the reason that the Copilot issue was found is because someone's obviously gone, I'll just double check that this is the right information before I forward it onto my client.
Yeah.
Like, the reason I found the issue with QuickBooks was because I just thought, just open these invoices, check they're the right ones. And, so whilst AI, so if I'd done the exercise I was doing back then in QuickBooks in Sage, the AI in theory would have saved me a lot of clicking and time. So that would have made it more efficient. But I'd have still had to check the data it surfaces. Like, even whether you use AI or not, would you blindly just click download and forward? Probably not. You'd still sense check it with your own eyes.
Yeah.
So whether humans took time building that report or that information, or whether AI did it, doesn't matter. The final check is us. We're sense checking it. Like, you don't tell ChatGPT to create an email for you to send and then just send it without reading it first. Like, there is a human element to a final check to any of this.
Yeah.
And no one's saying you should be scrapping that just because you're using AI.
But I mean, again, I don't want to give fuel to their fire, but I don't think getting reports that are inaccurate is the problem here, is it? Like that, right, whatever. Like, yeah, you may have run a report and it may be giving you some data that doesn't feel right. And as accountants, that's our role, right? We should be able to look through that, audit that, and make sense of it, right? And if something doesn't look right, that's our role to go, doesn't sound right there. So I'm not going to send that over. I'm going to do some more investigation or whatever it's going to be. I think the danger here is because what we want AI to do is start to be more productive for us. So we want it to start reacting to things and generating things, and we want it to be putting transactions into place. That's where the worry is, isn't it? Where it's looking at the wrong data set and generating data based incorrectly. That's what didn't happen here, obviously, but that's what the worry is of going forward, isn't it?
And
imagine it was generating the wrong transactions because it was looking at someone else's data set for whatever reason. That's where the fear comes from.
Yeah, and ultimately that's what the human check is for, is to make sure it's right. And okay, if AI is doing that, then yes, that's a major flaw, and actually it contradicts the purpose of AI, because AI should be doing this all for you in the background. But if I gave it to a junior staff member, is there a risk of the junior staff member doing the same thing? Potentially, yes. And I think we just need to remember AI is not perfect. AI, we treat it as that trainee staff member that's still learning. And you check its work.
Yeah, but you can check, like you can put controls in place to check human behavior. And we've been doing that for years, right? And we've built practices based on that. I think a lot of us are going to have to learn new skill sets, have to figure out, we're all going to, right? We're going to have to learn new ways to understand how to put checks into place, because how sophisticated is this going to be? I'm confident that, Sage and QuickBooks and the likes have bank recs. So hopefully we'll see some of the, if transactions were being created, hopefully they will be able to bring that into play. But how sophisticated is this going to be? Is this going to cover its tracks? We don't know, right? Like we don't know how this is going to work. And that's the bit where you kind of go, okay, right, how's this actually going to going forward, right? Like, and that's the bit where I think this is where it opens up that thing of, well, what controls do we need to be in place? How are we going to be more, be able to spot anything like this happen again? Because ultimately we need Sage Copilot to be brilliant. We need Jaxi to be good. We need all of those, because that breeds innovation, doesn't it? Like that's how we go from, at the moment having this cool little tool that we can chat to every now and again to actually something that's going to be really powerful for us going forward. And if we keep getting stumbling blocks like this, it won't get the momentum it needs, will it?
No, exactly. It needs people to be buying into it, and any flaws or anything in it is a risk of slowing down that adoption, basically. All interesting stuff though, and nothing that we didn't really expect when it comes. I mean, any new tools coming out, like Paul said in the comments, he's giving lots of feedback to QuickBooks on Sole Trader at the moment. He's ran into a few annoying behaviors with it. They they're probably not AI related behaviors. They're probably just been built in a certain way that doesn't make sense. So, is that any different to feeding back on Copilot tools and AI tools and getting them to refine how it does things? I don't know. But yeah. Cool. Right. Let's have a quick look at the comments before we go any further. Stephanie says, good morning. Good morning, Stephanie. Sue Green says, good morning and happy Monday. Happy Monday, Sue. Rachel's got 4 returns to complete this week. Fantastic progress. Sam says, thanks for clarifying the enhanced security of Engager. I'm sure we're now all thinking it, so it's comforting to know. Yeah, we've always been very open about that. for the last 2 years with how we build it and how it's different to most. So that's not an issue. Suzanne's had a major power outage in Henley, but it's back up now. And Dave wants to know, can QuickBooks be used in the United Arab Emirates, UAE? Technically, yes, because it's cloud-based. You can use it anywhere in the world. I've used it in Mauritius many a time.
Unless there's a like VPN blockage, isn't there? So I could imagine that South Korea, North Korea, probably not.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, yeah.
Yeah, and if you use a VPN yourself on your device to trick your device to think it's in the UK, you'd have absolutely no issues at all. You'll get BBC iPlayer and stuff. Like, there might be occasions when I have to use a VPN to trick my iPad into thinking it's in South Africa, so I can watch different shows on YouTube that I know are copyrighted in the UK.
Oh, interesting. The only thing is what version of QuickBooks, and it'll be rest of the world. But if you're native to that country, if you wanted to log into the UK version to run your own bookkeeping, you can do that anywhere you've got an internet and a web browser. Yeah, but if you want it for a UAE client, then it's a rest of the world one. Would I be confident in saying is the best product out there for that particular client? You might want to see what else is out there. What is localized, right? Like that's going to probably be a better solution. Whatever it is, it could be Zoho or whatever solutions out there.
Whoever's dominating in that market space.
Yeah. Because the global version of any product is fine, but it's still, global, which kind of, rest of the world and stuff like that. So
cool. Right, I'm going to step back for a moment, Aaron. I'm going to let you cover the next topic because I know you're going to want to gloat and bang on for this for a while. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. The smug face is coming. So, Xero have launched Jax, and there's been some public opinions from Xero fanboys, or what I would deem as Xero fanboys. And it's not been overly positive and actually quite underwhelming. So Aaron, the QuickBooks chap, with a non-biased point of view on this, right? Just remember, underwhelming or not, at least it's in the public domain to start testing, which is more of an Intuit assist can be said for. So Aaron, you've read these posts, you've been following this story. Talk us through it.
So we have, like you said, Xero fanboys and girls out there who are utilizing Just Ask Xero, Jax as they like to call it themselves, and trying to put it through its paces, should we say. And as you've already said, very underwhelming options. Like, for example, on this particular post I hear asks, can you create an invoice for me? Which Jax turns around basically saying, can you clarify what an invoice is? And then once clarified, it went into telling them that, yes, you could, if you tell us X, Y, and Z, then we can definitely think about generating that for you, which rightly so, the person came back with, oh, really? It'd probably be quicker if I just do that myself, which Jax pretty much said yes and apologized for the inconvenience it's caused.
Which, and to be fair to Xero here, I've been saying this about a lot of the functionality that all the providers have been banging on about for a while. Like when Intuit, Xero, Sage, etc. have done their marketing campaigns of, we're going to let you do this with AI. And I'm sat there going, is it not just quicker for me to do it myself than get AI to do it and me check it? Yeah, like that invoice creation one, I think is because by the time you've let AI do it and you've checked it, you may as well just done it yourself. So
yeah, well, it depends on the context, right? And then just finally on this one, tell me the average gross margin for the last 3 months. Which Jax replied with, I'm sorry, I cannot perform that task you have asked me to do. which, as you will already say, you've been using AI solutions for
I've been using SIF analytics and it
reporting
can do that very well.
for a year now, maybe more, maybe longer. Yeah, easily. So yeah, you're right. I am sat here gloating a little bit. And your point there about the creation of an invoice, I get what you're saying in terms of why would you want someone to just sit there typing in? But there are some circumstances where, typing it in is, it's an accessibility feature, or there's areas like that, very niche, but they are bits where it can be used. But the bit that I've already showcased on the channel and showed how impressive it is, and it even impressed myself, was that ability where I wrote a handwritten note out saying, can you create an invoice basically based on this? I want to sell 100 bottles or whatever it was on this date to this customer. A handwritten note, upload it to Intuit Assist, boom, it creates me that invoice directly from there. So for certain circumstances, when you've got to try and get your clients from that's all they've ever done to digitalization, then that's where this can be really useful, right? Like that's where we're going to have a use case of being able
Is
to.
that AI though? Is it OCR technology?
I know that it's not OCR. They've gone a step further than OCR because they've taken it from just purely OCR to generate it. And I know that you said, or there is options for you to go third parties, and you could do pretty much the same. But you always have that problem when you go third parties, having to teach the client to do this or push this or whatever it's going to be. The fact it's just in product and it is just a case of just clicking into an invoice that you know and love and you understand how that works and it just generates it in there for you. There's something about that helps you get confidence in the client to get it done. And the best bit that this will always be is when it finally hits the mobile app, right? And in the mobile app, they can just, I've written this thing down like I've always done and how I've been doing it for the last 10 years. And that's how I've always done my business. And it's quick photo, generates an electronic invoice for them. Boom, they're off. We've got better debt management. We've got better opportunities for them to pay it. We've got better, it's going to be making tax digital compliant. All of that stuff starts coming in. That to me is the exciting bit for me. That's the bit where AI can help. AI can do something more. And I think a lot of this comes down to we still don't know what powers Jax. Like, is it their own? Have they just bolted this on to something else? We don't know. They haven't been honest about this. They haven't said about it yet, have they? They haven't given us that information. We know Intuit's built their own. Is there going to be, we keep saying that there's this whole idea that the cloud race was a huge defining point in the way that financial management solutions and bookkeeping solutions went forward. We keep saying that AI is going to be that next big race. Is it a case that unless you built your own, you're not even properly in the race because it's only ever going to be nothing more than a gimmick, and a gimmick that's really going to underwhelm people, because that's all this is doing, right? If people are going to go in there, like you've already said, well, I might as well write it myself, then what's the adoption going to be? Because I certainly wouldn't use it. I feel like that's the thing that we need to make sure we get right. We need to launch this with a wow factor. We need to launch this as this is justification for us using this solution. And I think just releasing it just to be in the conversation isn't justification. Go for it.
Yeah, and are we making are software vendors making their lives difficult here by releasing it to do like minor tasks and functionality, like raising an invoice, like
is that minor though for some people?
But asking your software to do it, right, versus just doing it yourself, if you're well versed in using the software, is that really adding value from the tool, or is the tool better off doing report analysis like SIF Analytics does, where I know it adds huge value to me and my time efficiencies? I'm not convinced there's enough time being won on raising an invoice versus analyzing a set of accounts and reports and stuff. Like, should QuickBooks and Xero and Sage have actually gone, we'll come to these smaller bits, these little bits later, but let's really show the power of AI to start with in AI report generation, report analysis, etc. Should that not have been the flagstone that they're building their product on, instead of, we'll help you raise a quote, we'll help you send an invoice. Like, does that make sense?
It makes sense, but at the moment, Jax
can't do both either.
Yeah,
but
can't do either. So tell me your average gross margin for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Can't perform that task. So yeah, it's already broken it, right?
Yeah.
But I like report analysis. It's fine. Like that's a cool aspect. And yes, I understand from your point of view how you've saved so much time and it's helped you build goodwill with the client. And there's, there's all those positives that come with it. And I get that. But like you've already said, that we already have that solution somewhere else. So just replicating that, I don't see that's the big wow factor either. Like for me, if just because it could do it, and maybe it can do it slightly better, maybe it can't, maybe it'll do it slightly worse, maybe we're gonna have to do a comparison at some point, right? Of here's option A doing a report analysis, here's option B, which one comes out ultimately smelling the roses, and which one comes out just absolutely pointless, like chocolate teacup sort of scenario. We're gonna have to be that critical with these solutions, aren't we? And we're gonna have to figure out them. But to me, they're the nice to haves, and they're the okay, that's cool, let's bring them at some point. Generation of transactions is where I see AI being the ultimate win here, because that's where the time sink is. That's where the problems lie. That's where, and I'm not talking about replacing bookkeepers. I'm not talking about replacing us as accountants. I'm talking about helping us and assisting us, right?
Yeah.
We've already had the conversation here with Paul about QuickBooks self-trader. Like that is the perfect opportunity to showcase what AI can do for us, right? You put 500 transactions into that, and within 30 seconds, it's now fully analyzed for you. And technically, you could generate a tax return there and then, and technically, you're off to the races and job done. Yes, we would want to go through doing our checks and making sure it's done right, and there will be obviously things where we would interpret it better than an AI would in certain bits.
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm a huge fan of AI. I love AI. I spend a lot of time dealing with AI in Copilot, ChatGPT, and stuff.
Yeah.
But on Friday, a client sent me his analytics report for his bank for the whole year. We'd done the same thing the year before.
Yeah.
So sole trader, decorator. So we upload that into QuickBooks to process the transactions, get ourselves a nice, quick, easy profit and loss and a balance sheet for his tax return.
Yeah.
Last year, in doing that upload and categorizing all transactions, I created rules.
Yeah.
As I went. So this year, 600 transactions went in. I only had to deal with 55.
Yeah.
Because it knew the rules for the rest. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need to double check that it coded it right because I'd built the rules. If you're saying, well, AI could do that, but we'd still want to check, then we're losing some efficiency by having to check. If the rules are so much more accurate once you've built them, and they don't take long to build, it's no longer to build a rule than it is to categorize a transaction for the first time.
Yeah.
So how much value actually is AI bringing into that scenario?
Well, in that exact scenario, we're not replacing rules. Rules will still be there, right? Like,
yeah. So I wouldn't need AI in that scenario.
Well, you do, because there's still 65 transactions, whatever that number is ever going to be. There's still 65 still to do, right? The idea
Which
here,
recommend a suggestion for, but I need to still go through and check each one.
Yeah, you still physically got to do them.
Yeah.
So that's the point, right? Like at the very beginning, there's zero analyzing to do. We're just checking to make sure, and you're going to still want to put rules into place because you're still going to go, you know what? They've put BP to motor fuel or whatever, right? But in this client, we're not claiming that, we're going to substitute it for mileage. So the rule is it goes to whatever it's going to be, right? That's still, and that's where we add value, right? Like that's our job.
So we're still going to have to put a rule in there because AI even though AI will see what we've changed it to, it may not realize why or etc. So
we should, let's hopefully, let's not give ourselves out a job, but hopefully we will always be better than AI interpreting and offering advice and everything else. And that's where we add value, right? So for me, I still see us as coming in, going for it. And well, what we need to do is be banging on the doors of these vendors and these software developers and saying, look, give us the tools as accountants to go in there and do this as efficiently as possible, which is why, you know, I'm back and forth with like Paul is like back and forth with Intuit at the moment. We should refine this. We should be doing this. Like, we need to add this. We need to add that, because that's where I see us as accountants having an opportunity going forward to be better at what we're doing. Because if we can advise a tool to go in and do 90% of the work for us, that then we can go in and offer that 10% of absolute gold and, you know, proper value added. That's where I feel like AI and accountants and bookkeepers can work harmlessly with one another. Yeah. But that to me is the bit where we got to wow people. That's how we win that work over. Again, 500, 600 transactions, whatever. Yeah. But that first year was a time sink, a time loss for you, right? Generating the rules, putting them in, whatever. If we can not have to even do that first bit, but still have the same confidence in it and the same, you know, end result, that's where we win, right? And that's where suddenly it becomes a absolute no-brainer to utilize AI, because AI is actually adding proper value to our services.
Yeah.
I had a client the other day where they've left it absolutely to the last minute. Absolutely, like literally was last week that they sent the information in. In other scenarios, I might have had to turn around and say, there's no chance I've got capacity to do that. Thankfully, with use of AI, I can throw it in, get it done, go through my analysis, and I can still deliver the work, where in other years, I'd have to turn around and say, no, I can't, I won't have the capacity. That's where the wow factor for me comes in. And that's why I think they should be concentrating going forward on showing us and delivering to us, because that's how we take the adoption on, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I say, I absolutely love the AI, and I spend far too much time in Copilot chatting away to Copilot and brainstorming ideas and stuff for my own good. But I suppose what I'm struggling to see the value proposition in FMS solutions. Like at the moment, like I feel like we're still going to be doing too much checking ourselves to make it of value to us. I think it will get there eventually, but I think we're probably quite a few years away from that.
But we need to be using it to train it, right? Any language model.
Yeah.
And if we just go, it's quicker for me to do it myself, then it won't learn. And that's going to be something
surely it should be able to learn through data analytics of, okay, you've not told me to categorize this stuff, but I can see these transactions from here have been categorized there. I can learn from that.
Yeah.
Surely, actually, what we've got is, in my firm, for example, up to 7 years worth of data processing that the AI language model should be able to go, right, I can learn from that.
Yeah.
Instead of starting a blank today and learning as we go.
Agreed. But then is there kind of, you've not given, or you'd have to give permission for that? There's got to be some element to it, right? Like, and also my biggest concern about the way these are being built at the moment is they're not being built on our silos. Because I think if you're right, I think if there's a silo, Bofix, we have so many e-commerce clients, right? That's our niche, right?
Yep.
So every time that we deal with an e-commerce, we you know, if the AI just learned from our silo, it'll get it right each time. But it's not, is it? At the moment, it's going to be looking at the whole of the UK, or even possibly the whole of the world.
Yeah.
And people are doing things different ways. Like, we would never post eBay, for example, eBay income directly to the P&L. We would never do that. We would put it to a control account, and then the control account and analyze that. Right? Like, that's how we've always done it. Well, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but that's how we do it, and that's how we would expect the AI to do it. It's
like that analogy of getting two shipbuilders to build a boat of a picture, build the boat in the picture. How they get there are going to be two completely different ways. But you're going to get the right product at the end, and they both float. So what's the problem?
Yeah. And I feel like that's where, because we've got to find a way to be able to have our own spin on things, because that's what we're offering to the table, right? That's our value add, right? The reason we get so many e-commerce clients is because they've seen we've done a good job. They're confident in what we do. That's how we win that work.
Yeah.
And we need AI to effectively mimic what we do for us to be able to have confidence to use it, right? I don't think that'll ever happen. I think because that must be a very expensive way of running a large language model, right? Is if you had to silo it for each individual one, I can't imagine that'll ever be economically viable. But unless it is, I really struggle to see how people are going to mass adopt it to start really trusting it and really learning it. And I think that's where we're going to have difficulty getting benefits out of it. Because ultimately, if we could get to a point where the FMS solution could run 90% of our transactions for us, that is a benefit to us, right? We're still going to need accountants and bookkeepers to do that last 10%. We're still going to need accountants and bookkeepers to offer advice and help and everything else. But if we can get rid of having to do the noise, if you like, and we're just like you said there, you had 65 transactions left for your client. Well, they're actually the most important transactions out of all of them, right?
Yeah.
Because you might have bought a new car, or we might have done this.
Created them into, it's just new suppliers and stuff. So I've just created the new rules on them ready for next year. So,
but it could have been a capital purchase. It could have been that he never told you about, or you didn't know about, and suddenly there's more work for you to do, or this, you know what I mean? Like, it could be fundamental. The fact that all the noise is gone is great for you, because now you can focus on, like, out of these transactions, this is one that's really important for me to deal with, X, Y, Z, however that's going to be. And I feel like that's what we want AI to do. Get rid of the noise and leave those really important transactions for us to deal with, for us to go and add that value to justify our fee, whatever it is, whatever the phrase is going to be.
My point of view is, though, we've already got those tools and we've had them for many a year. Like, rules have been really underutilized by many firms. So, like, there is already a tool set there that people aren't really using. So will AI encourage us to use that tool set, or the new tool set, even more? I don't know.
Yeah. But then even rules can sometimes cause you issues, right? Like, you know, it does it X, Y, Z. And but you need someone to interpret it that actually, no, this one should go here, or this one should go there. And that's where hopefully AI will take that step further, where it will go, 99% of these transactions should be going to this category, but there's something here that doesn't quite feel right. That's when, again, we need to go in, add our things, and hopefully that's where AI can at least go, whoa, I don't know how to do this. Like, normally a rule would just put it here, but here is something else. And I feel like that's it. And again, it's that first client syndrome as well. Let's be able to do it from day one. I just feel like that's where we'll generate. And also, it's not just going to blindly put a rule in place, but also bring in the transaction and attach the thing for us automatically. They're the bits where we can really see the benefits, right? Like, it's bringing the image in, or the PDF in, or whatever it's going to be, and it's attaching it to us as it goes through. That to me is the exciting bit. That's where I really see AI doing something different. And the other big one for me that's already been a game changer is helping bank reconciliations, right? If the client's doing their own and they've got to the end of the year and they're massively out, yes, I can do a bank rec, and yes, I can spend time going through and doing all that. Or I grab their CSV bank statement, or PDF if I need to. I grab their general ledger and I just go, AI,
go do it. Yeah, and bank rec, I completely agree. AI's got a place there. Generating an invoice, I'm not so convinced, but hey ho.
Because I don't know about you, but this point in the time of the year, we keep getting clients who have buried their hand, new clients, whatever they're going to be, or recurring clients. They've buried their head in the sand. They've come back to us at this point, and it's a service that we'd have to put a premium on at this point. Like, we don't have the capacity. Like, we're basically saying to you, look, we can do it, but we're going to have to do overtime or bring other people in to do it, right? Because we're at crunch mode. If you'd have come to us X amount of time, then we would have been able to do it at a much more competitive rate. But now, at this point now, with 5 days to go, unfortunately, there's a premium for us to do a bank rec for you at this point.
Yeah.
If we can just rely on AI, we don't need to charge that premium, right? We don't need to have to nickel and dime just to provide a service. We know that from a capacity point of view, it's going to follow this process, and boom, boom, boom. And that's where I see AI becoming a benefit to everyone, where we don't have to arbitrarily put a premium on a service just because we're at crunch mode. We can hopefully, fingers crossed, get it done. Or the software's just, imagine one day where the software just bank recs for you automatically. Like, which everyone thinks Xero does,
It does.
anyway. Yeah, but imagine it did. Imagine that
Yeah.
that's the situation. Well, we don't even need to question it. If we see a bank balance in a general ledger, then we've got confidence AI's already banked that for us. And here's the proof, just in case you need to know, but here's your proof, but everything's fine. But it can't go wrong. That's where we need to get to. And I think that's what, unless we throw data, unless we play with it, unless we let it add transactions, that's where we need to get to. And I feel like the danger is we get stories like Copilot and we get stories like Jack's just being a chocolate teapot. No one's going to give it the data, so it's gonna process it, is it?
Yeah. Clive's asked, while we're talking about AI, have you any thoughts on DeepSeek? Have you seen DeepSeek? So DeepSeek, Clive, I would just be extraordinarily careful with them at this moment in time because we don't really know their provenance. So DeepSeek is a Chinese solution to ChatGPT. We know there's some rules in China where certain information, like the reason TikTok's in trouble in the US is because the Chinese government have got a term on them on TikTok where they could be provided all information from TikTok and user information. So DeepSeek being Chinese could have this same problem. So I would just be very cautious of any Chinese software at this moment in time, whilst we don't know who ends up with that user data. Like if you're already worried about that, we're worried about ChatGPT learning our data. Christ, at least the government's not got an overriding right to that data. Whereas in China, that's fairly common.
Yeah.
So yeah, DeepSeek, it sounds incredible. It sounds very, very powerful. But its country of origin, its ownership caused genuine concerns for me. I could be completely wrong. But
could be. But hey, who's to say that an American company is the right thing to have data at the moment either? When you've got political issues over there with So yeah, you're right. We've got to be more what do you call them? We've got, and I think this is where the practicing certificates and everything else and all the bodies and stuff are trying to be a little bit more cautious. And I think we're kind of sat there going, why, almost like they're being restrictive in some circumstances, but there is a reason for the cautiousness, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got to get that data security bit right.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool. Right, we are coming to the end of the show. So let's have a quick look at our comments. Clive says QuickBooks are having Clive said yes, Dave, you can use UAE QuickBooks. It's a global edition. Rachel says, how have Sage managed to get away with giving their AI tool the same name as Microsoft's? They haven't. Copilot is a separate word. So if I created Engager Copilot today, no one can challenge me on that because the trademark is Engager Copilot as one whole term. Microsoft Copilot is trademarked, but it's not Copilot they've trademarked. It's the whole name of Microsoft Copilot. Now, in regards to connections, Sage and Microsoft do have a really heavy partnership in the USA already. So we don't know. No, my understanding from Sage is that they've got their own large language model and stuff, but anyone can use the word Copilot. It's not trademarked or brand linked to Microsoft. So if Aaron created his own AI, he could call it Bofix Copilot if he wanted to. There's no direct.
Do that unless that's why I don't like. I get it, like Sage are being protective over their IP and everything else, but from my understanding, maybe I'm completely wrong here, but my understanding was that to use the Copilot thing, you're using some of the tools. It's been licensed out by it doesn't mean the language itself, but the connection tools and stuff are being used, right? So if I was to use a Bofix Copilot, surely that means that Microsoft were, I was using some part of their tool set.
No, I think Copilot is just a word. You cannot trademark a word. You can trademark a brand, but not a word.
Okay.
So that's like me saying Johann's accountancy. I've trademarked the word accountancy. No one else can use it. Like it's just a word. It might make up part of my brand, but it's just a word I can't stop anyone else from using. Same thing with Copilot.
Okay.
Copilot is a word that by definition means assistant. It assists you. So they can't trademark that. But yeah, Dave says, thank you very much for the answers. Not a problem. Clive says QBO have a big push in the UAE. Interesting. Paul says single line invoices could be done yourself, but if it's complex multi invoices, AI can help. But as you mentioned earlier, it's still important to review by humans before sending. Yeah, I don't really come across these multi-line invoices in my firm. Like,
I was going to say, Boffix always sends multi-line out. So if I could have help doing that, I'd love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the moment there isn't.
Well, Stephanie writes a lot of multi-line invoices, so AI could be a huge time saver for her. Clive said DeepSeek, we've done that. Paul says rules can lead to mistakes. Creating a rule to record EE as mobile costs has resulted in many mistakes on our client files. I think that's just the way you build the rule, though. Like,
yeah, you can. Yeah,
you can do it because we do it successfully all the time.
But you've got to teach that to all your staff, right, and have them understand it. Yeah.
So like only our senior bookkeepers set rules because they know the wording and stuff to use and the sentence to create, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, so Tim says, like Apple numbers is trademarked, but they can't trademark the word numbers. Exactly. Working with garages, they have multilingual all over the place.
Multi-line, I think you meant.
Multi-lines all over the place. Oh, okay, fair enough. I suppose, yeah, most of our clients just use tills and softwares that they just generate an invoice with one line. Like the till's got the full receipt type thing. Lightyear for multi-line invoices, says Tim, as well. Cool. Right, we are over time. Aaron, what have you got coming up this week?
Oh, this is just a week of just get head down, get the last done, and hopefully next weekend I can have a weekend. Can't wait. What about yourself? Go for it.
I'm popping out for lunch with a client today.
Do you do any work?
14 tax returns to do later this week at some point. Might do one on the train. So I got loads of tax returns done on the train to London and back last time. Really good use of time. But yeah, no, nothing major on the diary this week. Just looking forward to January being over and done with and starting February. And we're actually refining the final parts of our rollout for MTD IT to our clients this week. So
good.
That would be good. Cool. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to everybody that's joined us, all of our commenters and question generators in the comments. Always appreciated. And we will see you all here this time next week, 8:30 every Monday morning for Ask the Accountant.
See ya.
See you all next week. Goodbye.
Oh.